The Gemara in Brachas on Daf Lamed Beis Amid Beis discusses the mitzvah of Nishma-s or Bichas Kohanim. The mitzvah, we have a mitzvah in our Torah that the Kohanim bless the Kahal. And in Eretz Israel we do it daily, Svardim some do it daily, and the minhag in Chutz La'aretz is only on special days on the Yomim Tovim when we can reach the level of Simcha. So this is a question that would apply anywhere, but more pressing, it's usually more of an issue in Israel, especially since 1948 with the advent of the State of Israel and the Israeli army, and specifically with Kohanim who joined the army, and obviously through the course of the army, collateral damage, sometimes you have to kill people, self-defense, etc. So the question is, the Gemara tells us in Brachas that a Kohen who kills is puzzle, is disqualified for the mitzvah of Bichas Kohanim, for the mitzvah of Nishma-s Kapayim. And it's learned out based on a pasuk in Yeshayahu. It says that our hands are filled with blood, and therefore God doesn't listen to our tefillos, etc. And this halacha is codified, is brought down as seems to be normative halacha in Shulchan Aruch. So the question is there any heter, are there any leniencies for a Kohen shaharag, a Kohen who killed during battle, specifically a Kohen in the Israeli army? He's fighting Milchemes Mitzvah, Milchemes Rishus, he's fighting wars, self-defense. Is there any leniency for a Kohen post-army or post-involved in killing? Can he still do Bichas Kohanim? So Rav Moshe Feinstein has a short tshuva where he discusses a Kohen who is drafted into the army. So obviously we know if you draft in the army, you're going to be killing people, as the Bichas Kohanim points out. Even though we have, for the big three, we have three averos we give up a life for. The other 6 no. But it's obvious that fighting a war involves you have to kill people, so clearly it's built in. So Rav Moshe writes it's obvious to him, it's pshita li, that if a Kohen who kills during wartime can definitely continue doing Bichas Kohanim. He says a kal v'chomer based on a pre-chadash, because the pre-chadash writes in a different case. We're talking about the big three. Let's say someone puts a gun to your head and says commit adultery, idol worship, or murder someone. So the halacha is Yavor, Yaro v'al Yavor. The mitzvah is you should give up your life al Kiddush Hashem. Better to give a life of Kiddush, better to die a life of Kiddush Hashem than have the stain of those three sins on your neshama, on your soul. So let's say a Kohen goes ahead, or let's say a person goes ahead and someone puts a gun to your head and you can't withstand the desire to stay alive, and you kill someone. So it's still considered an onus. The Rav Moshe writes, it's still considered an onus, and therefore he says, if in a case where you did something you weren't supposed to do, you had a mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, and nevertheless if a Kohen, he acted improperly and he could still do the duchening, how much more so a Kohen in the Israeli army fighting the wars to protect the state of Israel, how much more so he has the right to continue doing Bichas Kohanim. And the Mishnah Berurah seems to go with this as well. And to Rav Moshe, it's simple and clear. So that's the opinion of Rav Moshe. The Tzitz Eliezer, Rav Eliezer Waldenberg, has a different approach. He focuses on whether a Kohen who kills a non-Jew, whether that puzzles him for Bichas Kohanim. We know the halacha seems to be clear that if you kill a Nachri, he's still considered a Rotzeach, and clearly it's usher and prohibited. The reason why the Tzitz Eliezer focuses on killing a Nachri, he's saying it's specific to the laws of the disqualification of Bichas Kohanim, because we have a rule, and the preacher seems to write that since the pasuk in Navi is referring to only Kohanim who killed Jews, not Nachrim, so since that's the specific source, that's why the Tzitz Eliyah goes with the preacher saying it doesn't apply if a Kohen kills a Nachri. Most assume not like that the Tzitz Eliezer, but the Tzitz Eliezer wants to say that this is the issue, and if you kill and therefore in a case where you kill a Nachri, so therefore you could do Bichas Kohanim. And then you have so you have Moshe focusing on Ones. If you do it under duress, so therefore you still could do Bichas Kohanim. You have the Tzitz Eliezer focus on killing a Nachri, and you have the Avaji Yosef who focuses on a mitzvah. When you do it for mitzvah purposes, so where do we see that if you're doing a mitzvah, it doesn't apply? So the Shulchan Aruch brings down the issue. Let's say a Kohen Mohel. If a Kohen Mohel does a bris on someone and the child dies, can the Kohen still perform Bichas Kohanim? So the Shulchan Aruch says yes. Why yes? So the Mishnah Berurah quotes in the Magen Avraham different reasons why. So one of the reasons the Mishnah Berurah brings down is, number one, it was performing a mitzvah. When you're involved in a mitzvah, so therefore it's not an issue. Or we're talking about a little child, only day 8, so perhaps the child was a nefel, and therefore that's why it's not a problem. Or perhaps the child could have died for some other unrelated causes. So therefore, the Avaji Yosef, though obviously someone fighting in the IDF and the Israeli Defense Forces, are clearly involved in a mitzvah, and therefore it's not a problem. So we have Ramosha, we have the Tzitz Eliezer, and we have the Avaji Yosef. On the other hand, we have a minority view of Rav Soloveitchik, the Rav Shechter in the Nefesh Harav, page 132. He disagrees with Rav Moshe, the Tzitz Eliezer, Rav Yosef. A Kohen who kills fighting the war is disqualified to do the Bichas Kohanim. Where do we see that from? He says we see David HaMelech. That's why he wasn't able to rebuild the temple, because he was involved. The Beis HaMikdash, he shed too much blood, even though he was involved in mitzvahs, and therefore, and he apparently doesn't go with the Pri Megaddin. Even a Kohen who kills to an onus under duress is also disqualified. He doesn't go with the Pri Chadetz, the Ramoshe's Mahalach, and clearly maybe he holds it's not enough. Maybe you need all three things in order to be exempt. Interesting. Apparently, this wasn't well known because Rav Aaron Lichtenstein, another Talmud of the Rav Soloveitchik, he never heard the Rav say that a Kohen who kills in the IDF, he's possible to do Bichas Kohanim. And perhaps one of the sources the Rav bases on is on a Zohar and Parshas Pinchas, that but the reason why Pinchas was disqualified, what do we need the special Brisi Kunas Olam if Pinchas was a Kohen? So that's a discussion whether Pinchas was a Kohen. If he wasn't a Kohen, he was made a Kohen. But if he was a Kohen, so what do you mean? So why do I need the Brisi Kunas Olam? That's because a Kohen Shaharag, maybe he loses his status, he can't do the Avod in the Beis HaMikdash, he can't do Bichas Kohanim, Kamashmuan, he can. So, therefore, nevertheless, that's Rav Soloveitchik's view. It goes against the consensus view, and as well, that doesn't seem to be the accepted view. Rav Aaron Lichtenstein in Gush, he, besides the halachic reasons, which he finds they're okay to do, it's not a problem. This from a psychological thing. Imagine a soldier coming back from battle, and then Israeli soldiers coming back and not able to do Bichas Kohanim, etc. So he points, he definitely says yes. And therefore, and in fact, clearly he says yes, and therefore Rav Moshe Sternbuch points out that the practice in England was to permit Kohanim who fought in World War I to continue Nishma-s Kabayim. So therefore, and that's clearly when the Jews were on the opposite sides, even Hamas are killing Jews. That seems to be the consensus, even though the normative halacha is a Kohen Shahara Paso, but fighting in a battle, that's either considered ones, Malka Mitzvah, Nachri, whatever the reasons are, and the consensus view seems to be that a Kohen Shaharag in the army can continue with his mitzvah of Nishma-s Kapayim, of Bichas Kohanim.